ready for action, nip it in the bud, we never relaxing. Outcast is everlasting, not clashing, not at all. But see, my went to do a little.
Isaac Hayes the third, you gonna teach me how to rap?
Maybe sing.
Teach me how to sing. You can teach me how to sing.
Yeah, it's interesting. This interview was meant to be because guess what I was listening to on the way in here today?
What? Oh my God!
It literally was like I was listening to this as I came in today.
Wow, that is so ironic. Wow, my
That is
producer's
super
working it
ironic.
out. That
Like
is.
literally, I was like, when I heard that, I was like, oh, this is meant to be right here. This
Yes.
is a sign. This is an
Yes, it
ATL
is.
Outcast connection.
And, I mean, it's a serious connection. We appreciate you, and we're certainly glad to have you on Point with Juandolyn Stokes, music producer and entrepreneur, Isaac Hayes III, aka Dirty, the son of Black Moses himself. Welcome to On Point. How are you doing today?
I'm incredible. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. First of all, tell us about just one of those stories with you and your father that you can reflect on that really inspired you to uh, be an entrepreneur and to help others, to grow in business and to empower others.
I think him going through the challenges that he had in owning his copyright is something that always sat with me because it really affected the lives of my family. Like, our family never saw any of the income that all his records made. My dad never saw that income himself for all the songs that sampled him, all the publishing, all the royalties. It's probably 60 to 70 million dollars that he never saw in his lifetime. And that's generational wealth that went on to people that happened to buy his shares at a private auction that he didn't even know about. And so imagine your wealth going to like two white families and putting their kids through school and letting them buy houses and letting them educate, their families and buy businesses and invest off your wealth.
Yeah, and back during that time, these record companies, they were stealing everything, your music, your copyright, your talent, and they were taking advantage of artists, during that time. Tell us, you take a look at what's happening today, the impact of social media has certainly been impactful with many followers, and it's just a part of culture. It's a part of everyday life. Talk to us about the importance of social media, and then we're going to get to fan base.
Well, social media has transformed very quickly in let's say the last 5 to 6 years as not the place where we actually have fun and entertain ourselves while traditional media is to the side. Now traditional legacy media flows through social media. We get our information, we get our news through social media platforms. And so the combination of something that was a toy and fun and entertaining, but it's also a necessary means of the dissemination of information is kind of where we are now, which is extremely important because as we see these other platforms get acquired by people that have their own agenda, where do we speak our voice? Where do we send our messages? Where do we have our conversations? Where do we live and tell our truth when the world doesn't want to hear what's going on in the lives of Black people or the lives of Jamaicans who have had a Category 5 hurricane hit their island and no one's talking about it?
Wow, that's good. And being able to tell our own stories, to share our own stories, to write our own narratives is so very key. So, talk to us about how you are redefining social media with fan base.
So I wanted to build a platform that allowed us to have the same functionality, same functionality that we have on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and X, put it in one place. So something that was very, very similar, but also something that we could own at the same time. I think the importance of ownership in social media is extremely important because the data always shows and proves the fact that youth and primarily Black youth and Black culture power social media and make them very, very valuable platforms, but no one that looks like us ever owns them. And so the intention behind Fanbase was to say, let me build a successor to TikTok, to Instagram, to Clubhouse, to YouTube, that offers the same tools, but also gives people a chance to monetize their content if they want to on the front end, and then own the actual company on the back end. And we've been very successful doing that in these last 4 years.
That's certainly been a different approach that the other platforms have not actually done, because they're owning it, and they are watching and monetizing from it. They look at algorithms on the back end. What do you think about, and they're making money, selling these ads and all of that. Um, what do you think about surveillance? With these other platforms in terms of them listening, hearing, tracking, tracing, your movement in order to make even more money.
Well, number one, I think it's a violation of people's privacy, and not only that, these platforms that are now owned by these new oligarchs, they're actually giving the government permission to do so. It's not like this is just something the government can do without permission. Meta is opening up the opportunity for the federal government to come in there and hear what people have to say about the government. TikTok is going to open up their app to allow the people to be surveilled. And so that's important because what you can say now, they're trying to pass legislation that what you say on social media could get you arrested, right? Could get you put in jail, what you say on these platforms. And that has happened within the first year of this new administration. And all the people that are assisting in that are people like Meta and Larry Ellison and TikTok and Elon Musk with X. And so these platforms are no longer safe because they can be used as weapons against free speech.
Wow, wow. And that's a major concern. And I think this is also reasons why people need to know more about fan base and how they can benefit and grow from it. As an Atlanta native, when you first started and when you first built this platform, was it all around the freedom of expression? Was it all around user ownership and instant monetization?
It was immediately around monetization because I see black creators would create dances on TikTok, and then TikTok themselves would elevate younger white creators to be the face of the challenge. And those creators like Charlie D'Amelio, to no fault of her own, are just doing what people do on social media. But the opportunities come from a platform like TikTok pushing her video and making it the most watched video on the platform, that so that she can get endorsement deals from Dunkin' Donuts and all these opportunities. And she's amassed over $25 million at a very, very young age in these past 4 years. But the originator of that dance, Jalea Harmon, has not seen anywhere close to that amount of money by what she's doing. And so Fanbase says we need a place where people can monetize if they so choose, because Fanbase is a free platform, it's a free app, free to download, free to use. We have over 1.4 million users. We're on iOS and Android. And so I just wanted to take this step to say, man, look, we cannot keep using infrastructures that we don't own. We make the NBA and the NFL so much money, but we don't own the infrastructure. We don't own the stadiums. We don't own the team. We don't own the rights to the names of the team. We make the music industry so much more valuable with hip hop and R&B, but we don't own Universal. We don't own Interscope. We don't own Sony. We don't own Warner. And in social media, we don't own Instagram. We don't own TikTok. We don't own X. And so we have to own those things and have ownership. So the intention was to democratize content for every single person on the planet, no matter what color, age, race you are. Fanbase is not just it's not a black platform. I just happen to be a black founder, but I'm expressing the inequity of ownership where there's only one app out here right now that's founded and owned by an African American person. Out of all the apps that are on social media right now that we're all using, we're the only app where there's a black founder that has all the functionality of TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Clubhouse, X Spaces, but it's owned by the people that actually believe in it.
Yeah, if you're just now tuning in, it's On Point with Juandolyn Stokes, and we'll go to break. Live well, win well. It's on point with Juandolyn Stokes right here in News and Talk, WAOK. We're speaking with Atlanta native Isaac Hayes III, who's redefining social media with Fanbase. That's a platform for freedom and ownership and equity. Isaac, when a lot of Black creatives were trying to get funding, for social media platforms out there in California, they were just not able to get it.
Yeah, that's true because they go through something called venture capital. And venture capital is just basically the people that are already rich, that are already millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires get the first chance to invest in your company by law. By law. So Apple, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, like YouTube, all those platforms by law had the opportunity to be invested in only by rich people. When Barack Obama came up with something called the Jobs Act, it wiped out that accredited investor role and allowed you, me, anyone to invest in those very same type of companies with lower minimums, lower thresholds to have ownership. And so that changed the game because number one, they're not going to give Black people money to build social media platforms anyway. Like African American founders received less than half of 1% of all venture dollars for any type of business to invest in the last 4 years. It's been getting it lower and lower and lower, and we're not getting loans from banks. And so the ability for the community, everybody out here watching, listening, wherever, being able to actually invest in Fanbase and have ownership of it, that is the part that's game changing because now we have a chance at generational wealth by using a platform we already use anyway. We already use social media, but we should own it and use it at the same time. And so we've had an enormous amount of success in the last 4 years. We've raised over $23 million, and we're closing this round, this current round where we've raised 13 of the 23 million on December 18th. And we're telling everybody before we close this round, we're inviting people to invest because we only have about 4 million to go. And that's roughly about 4,000 people investing $1,000 or 10,000 people investing $400, which is the minimum, $399 to invest. And so as we're moving to this economic blackout from Black Friday to Cyber Monday, those
Right.
dollars don't need to be spent on gifts. They need to be spent on investments. They need to be spent on supporting and investing in businesses that we can actually have an opportunity to see a significant return on, and that is Fanbase. And so anybody listening right now can go invest in Fanbase on the platform Start Engine, where we've raised our capital. It's startengine.com/fanbase, and the minimum to invest is $399, and that gets you 60 shares of equity ownership in Fanbase. It's not a GoFundMe. This isn't a donation. This is actually you sit on the cap table. So the same way that the people invested in Facebook and Instagram sat on the cap table as owners, you yourself will sit on the cap table as an owner of Fanbase. And we're currently valued at $160 million. But you got to think a platform like Meta is worth $1.9 trillion. So that's way more. But imagine the ability to own a piece of a company that's worth 160 million today and worth maybe 16 billion in a few years, or 160 billion 8 years from now. And that's how you create generational wealth: is investing in technology companies that can scale to hundreds of billions of dollars. It can't be these retail stocks that are just so volatile and can go up and down, or crypto. This is something that you yourself as an individual can have ownership in, invest in, and then also use like you would always use these other platforms anyway. And that's the point and purpose of Fanbase.
I love the way you said that. And isn't that a mentality to think about ownership? To really focus in on ownership because, we utilize social media all the time. So when it comes to fan base, our own and being able to say, listen, let me take 400, let me take 1,000, $4,000 and invest. Isn't that something that you're also trying to empower the community about the importance of making investments and owning?
Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you why. Um, 50% of the people, 50% of the people that use Tubi and watch Tubi are African American. Guess who owns Tubi? Fox News Corporation, Rupert Murdoch. So they take that money, that Black people and the value that they give, and they invest it into supporting candidates that work against Black people, right?
Yeah.
Or there's this amazing site called worldstarhiphop.com. Everybody that young people know what World Star Hip Hop is. World Star Hip Hop is not owned by anybody Black. They're owned by a media corporation called Media Lab AI, right? And so they're the ones that are benefiting off hip hop culture. And most of the time they take that wealth and lobby Congress to take away SNAP benefits and health care and disenfranchise black voters. And so I've been telling everybody we have to start reading the fine print, because you might be using TikTok, but you don't know that Larry Ellison owns TikTok, which is Trump's best friend and one of the people that support him. And so that's the reason why you have to read the fine print. The fine print of Fanbase is you own Fanbase, I own Fanbase, we own Fanbase. And that's what we want people to know, because we can't keep using these platforms. And I know it's fun, it's great, but we're at another level of responsibility to figure out who's actually behind what we're using. Read the fine print. Who actually owns that? I tell everybody to do their research. We know Elon owns X, right? But when you're using these platforms, who's behind it? Who's actually getting the check from a platform like Tubi? Like, that's the point. Who actually is really taking that money and what they're doing with it? And just because they have a few black faces on the front of the website, they're taking those billions of dollars that they make and they're working against black people. And we can no longer do that. I'm not participating in this game where just because I got cute filters and be able to make these videos and have fun, you can do the same thing on Fanbase, but at least know that your money is not being used, or the company itself is not being used as a tool against you and your community.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you said that. And what do you think about these same companies that are using our faces to sell their products on their pages? And they're not really profiting. The user's not really profiting. The company is, but the user's not really profiting. But with fan base, tell us how people can monetize. I know what you have subscriptions, and what are some of the other ways people can monetize on fan base?
So what I love about subscription, in-app purchase, peer-to-peer subscription is by default, it turns everybody on Fanbase into a business. And what I mean by that is I came up with in-app purchase peer-to-peer subscription in 2018. Like the thought, the idea of really executing it. And we built it into Fanbase. Took about half a year to do. But that means rather than when you subscribe to a corporation or a business and you take out your credit card, you do the CVV and the address and the whole long process, it's done through Apple Pay and Google Pay. We were the first platform to literally do that in existence before TikTok, before Instagram. And what happened is they saw what we were doing, and then Apple and Google actually changed the way that they allow you to subscribe to people. And now you can use subscriptions that way. But the difference is those platforms still suppress your content. They don't allow everybody to see your posts. So they work against you while appearing to actually want to help you, but they're working against your behalf. And then micro tipping, which we call love. So on most platforms, you like a photo. Cool. But if you really like appreciate what the person has done, you can tip them half a penny, right? And what you do is you buy these loves, right? This currency called love. And every time you tap on the love icon, you give the creator half a penny. And that doesn't seem like much, right? Until a million people give you 1 penny, and that's $5,000 because you get half of the revenue on Fanbase. So a penny doesn't seem like much until a million people give you one. That's $5,000. And so we see people making money off the very same content that they post on Instagram for free. People, they're making $1.15 off the same post. They're getting 230 loves and like, oh, I just made $1.15 off this. And that's a game changer because at scale, as we continue to go, we only have 1.4 million users. Think about platforms that have hundreds of millions of users, a billion users. The amount of opportunity for people to make money off posting the same content they post on other platforms is immeasurable, because that's what people are doing. Like I don't even post content on Fanbase that's a subscription based content, but just off tipping alone primarily, I made like $76 on the app like in the last month, and I don't, just off people giving me pennies. You understand what I'm saying? And that's
Yeah.
money. That's gonna pay some bills. You know what I'm saying? That's a way to feed yourself off being a content creator and a user of social media.
That's good. That's good. What are your thoughts about AI and its development and growth, and even misinformation that's out there? What are your thoughts on it?
I have polarizing opinions about AI. The things that I love about AI is the ability to increase productivity. So how fast we can do things, awesome. When it comes to AI generated content, I hate it, because you see Sora 2 is the platform that's done by OpenAI that lets you generate videos. But all I've seen from Sora 2 since its launch is them making Martin Luther King jump up and down and scream like a monkey, right? making
Yeah.
videos of black women screaming like they need EBT cards and trying to make them look bad when the primary users of EBT are white American people from the Midwest. And so for me, I don't want AI generated content on Fanbase for that very reason. I don't mind if you filter your photos. You know, if you want to remove the cactus in the background or the cat that's in the way, or you want to add a little bit more grooming to your beard, that's fine. But taking people's likeness and making them do things and say things that they would never say is totally disrespectful, especially to black icons. And if you notice, there are not a lot of white icons on Sora that get treated that way. But I've seen
That's
Tupac,
true.
I've seen Michael Jackson, I've seen Prince, I've seen Malcolm X, I've seen Martin Luther King, I've seen Notorious B.I.G., I've seen all our black icons be created into caricatures of themselves that do all this foolishness, and we don't have any control over that. So I really don't like AI generated content. Plus, it's not real. If someone makes an amazing catch in a football game, that's one in a million chance they can do that. I'd rather know that that really happened than somebody just rendered that inside of a program, and it makes real life not even worth it. It's like, I want to know what really happens. I want to see the things that really go on. And that's the organic nature of social media. And I think that people are over indexing on AI, that they think people are really going to sit there and look at screens of fake videos all day long. And that's what we're going to do. People want the power of choice and the power of reality. That's what makes life exciting, the unpredictability, the miracles, the amazing things that happen. And that's what I want Fanbase to represent, not a bunch of AI generated videos that disrespect black people.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. There's always a downside to a lot of this advancement in technology, but you want people to use it in a positive way that will enhance them. How can people invest in fan base, and how can people sign up and be a part of this platform?
So again, you can go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum is $399. We're at a point right now where we're going to take $399 and waste it on a bunch of crazy stuff. Look, I think concerts are great, but I'd rather take $400 and put it into a social media platform that I can use and that's already proven the model of social media and monetization and ownership, and think about, I can invest for my children, I can invest for holidays, for Christmas. So go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest 60 shares of equity in Fanbase and ownership. We're verifying every user that invests as an owner, so you will have a verified badge that signifies that you are the person that believed in Fanbase before anyone else, and you will join 24,000 other investors that have done the exact same thing. And then you can download Fanbase on iOS and Android. So we're in 190 countries and territories around the world on iOS and Android. So download Fanbase and invest in Fanbase at startengine.com/fanbase.
That's great. Fanbase puts the power back into the hands of the people. And right here, based out of Atlanta, but it's the fastest growing tech and creative hub in the country. And so, listen, Atlanta and the world, let's do what we can do. Invest and support. We certainly appreciate all that you're doing, and we wish you much, much success. We'll go to break. Hold on a moment, Isaac. And we'll go to break. We'll be back with more. It's On Point with Juandolyn Stokes. We are News and Talk, WAOK.
Hello, this is Isaac Hayes III, and you're listening to On Point with Juandolyn Stokes.